All right, welcome to the Diplomats. We're covering season 6 main event pregame show to talk about the power selection and what we think each player will do. I'm back here with Don, Superstition, Stitches, Nexus Administrator, Mod, Poobah, and Audacious Hand, Misanthrope, Cynic, and Harsh Grader. Not coming to us from a mountain or a mountain tunnel, and there are no foxes in the background, but it looks like New York behind you.
Yep, on the 20th floor of the Hampton Inn in Chelsea, drinking wine out of a hotel cardboard cup.
That sounds awful. I have no idea if all three of us are going to show up, as I'm have to relearn how to record with multiple people, but hopefully this works out. It may just be Hand who gets shown, because that's all it's looking like on my screen, but it is what it is. All right, let's just get to it. I think Stitches, you and I did the interviews and we did the power selection. Hand was off living his life. Pez got, well, let's go with the order. There was a bit of we did the interviews before the order, and it was very clear Tanjian wanted to work with somebody. I believe that it's already known within the game that he wanted to work with Ewok. I know that because they worked together in my game 44. And I also know that Riaz was in that same game with Tanj, Ewok, and me. Riaz and Ewok did not get along. I'm positive this is being talked about in the game. Tanjian gave away a meta, I think, of what he wanted to do, which was to work with, someone who was maybe Russia. And I think that's exactly what happened.
Well, he said he'd have the choice between Austria and Turkey, and nobody wants to get stuck in the corner. But he said he'd only choose Turkey if Russia was a friendly player. So, and you can kind of see it where Ewok dropped down to 4, because 4 is almost a guaranteed Russia spot after Germany, England, and France go. So he could pretty much play it safe, knowing that he would be in that position to gain that alliance. And he also alluded that he would work like us, where he was more worried about his reputation and building, lines of trust and stuff like that. So they're not really hiding it at all, in my opinion. But
I mean, I don't blame Ewok. I mean, after watching Tenjian just kind of naively walk into the eventual winner's knife last season, I would want to groom him to be my ally as well. So, I mean.
Well, and I think he's got, a few options too. It's not just him. He's done a very good job of building those relationships. So I think he's just made a better spot for himself.
So we're going to get back to that, because I think it's interesting how that's going to play out in the game, right? It puts Ewok in a really difficult spot, right? Because everyone's going to be saying it's an RT, it's an RT. Maybe it's maybe Italy's in on it. I don't know, but and I know Riaz will be pumping that up a bit in the game. So if it is an RT, then there's going to be this claim of sort of unfair metagaming, but that happens in every finals. And if there's a stab by Ewok on Tanjian or something like that, it'll play right into Riaz's hands that Ewok's a bloodsucker. There is no win for Ewok in this situation with Tanji's interview.
I kind of disagree in the sense that, I mean, I think it would be a little bit foolish to try to kind of have a disguised jug, just because no one's going to fall for it. But I mean, people don't really do the classic jug where just Black Sea is demilitarized. You try to disband Russia's fleet. You send Turkey's fleet straight into the Aegean. But actually, if you just go all out, you get into a powerful position pretty quickly. You're not going to advance, but you do kind of lock up that line. And you can kind of like, if you hold that line and like, you can kind of cause some ruptures to the west, especially if you have a feeling like Italy and Austria aren't going to work together. And in any case, if they don't work perfectly together, they're not going to really advance. I mean,
And that's why I think Ewok's in a better position, because during Max's interview, he was just saying how he did not get along with Pez and Babo, just because of that directness. He likes a lot more empathy and trust. And so that's your Italy and Austria right there. So it
Was he
might not be the best
Pez?
working relationship.
Was he referring to Pez when he says he doesn't like people who arrogantly come forward?
Yeah, he was referring to that, I believe.
It does sound a bit like Pez, yeah.
So let's talk about Pez being in this situation. Austria, Pez is a very good player, accomplished, and in the competition for all around best player on Nexus on the current rankings with him versus Riaz. So he's won this tournament before. He's the only winner playing on this board.
We won with a tie against Max.
Yeah, but he knew what those were the rules.
Yeah.
And he's the winner.
I know. I was just highlighting that Max is here too again.
So
as his neighbor.
Right. Yeah. And I'm wondering, how comfortable he must feel right now. If I was in Austria in this situation, I'd feel very uncomfortable. And how would I be working this?
I will say, I mean, I do have a little more faith, I think, in Pez than you guys. I mean, I would say we've only played a few times, but if I do have a nemesis on Nexus, it is Pez. Our famous we both like clutched each other and just jumped into the sea together and drowned in the finals. He tried to both ally with me and then ended up sea lining me in the round one of this game, and I did end up getting the best of him, mostly because of my familiarity with his style. I will say, I mean, he has a his weakness is how methodical and predictable, and like not predictable, but his style is so specific, right? It's always three-way alliances, three-way chats, the appeal to reason, the appeal to the collective good that always benefits him slightly more, that always like advances his interest slightly more. A classic Pez win is to win by one center. He's not going to solo on you. He's not going to like sweep you up in some grand adventure, but it's always this appeal to reason. And it's always, many, many little three-way chats, three-way alliances. You kind of isolate the third party. You feel like if you go your own way, or you start a bilateral talk, like you're going to get isolated by the group. There's a lot of kind of group pressure that he applies. In that sense, I mean, I do see what you guys are saying. Like when Max was speaking about this arrogant person who comes forward with plans, which does ring a little bit of Pez. And you could see, he has these clear blue eyes, and you could see like the blue flame of rage. He seems like a bit of an angry guy, to be honest. Very likable. I mean, I'm an angry guy too, as you guys know. But
the blue flame of rage is the title.
And but the thing is though is insofar as and we can talk about I suspect that England and France actually might work together. They both were wearing Hawaiian shirts and have a little bit of a used car salesman vibe that might bring them together. But in any case, I mean, I think, Pez is the master of the three-way. He always pushes the central powers pretty hard. I could see him, Max might have this anger towards him, but he could bring Germany into the fold and kind of like, pose that jug as an existential threat. And so I could see a very classic kind of power division here with West, East, and Center. But yeah, I really wouldn't underestimate him. He really, He's
No, I never
very-
underestimate him. It's just a tough position.
No,
It
no,
is.
I would like to just give my Pez story. I've only played him once, and that was in game 37. And for anyone who's
Mhm.
interested, they can go on the Diplomat's website and read my poem, Ode to Game 37, which in which Pez, I think, played a masterful game. I love the AIR, and I know people don't. I was Italy, he was Turkey, and everything was going great. We're crushing Turkey. Pez is down to, not much, not like as bad as Conk was as Turkey, but he's getting crushed. He's getting crushed early. So what does he do? He makes friends with Germany. He makes friends with Germany and then tells Germany, I think this is what happened, that he's going to work with him tactically and help him out of his situation because he's good friends with England and France. And I'm pretty sure he leaked everything Germany was doing to England and France. So they wipe out Germany in like 03. France comes on, puts in pressure, and he survives and then thrives later on in the game. He's very good at massive board dynamics and turning around a dire position, and doing it in a very sophisticated way. So
Yeah,
I think he can get out of it, but he is still in a bad spot.
his mastery of group dynamics is really impressive. Like where he struggles is with the bilateral stuff. He struggles with the bilateral stuff, even though he's actually like we actually had this really beautiful exchange last time we played, like actually some really like philosophical like talks, but he also like bilaterally will completely lose his shit if he feels like he's not in control. Like he will start writing all caps, like hold everything, like 5 minutes before adjudication. Which is actually I love his panic. It just I savor it like a fine wine. But yeah, his reach across the board, his way of kind of creating like grand alliances or kind of incent like using the scoring system to kind of make it seem like things are in people's objective interests. Like is impressive. So I really, Austria is like it doesn't strike me as a great power for him, but I wouldn't be surprised to see if he could bring in a central alliance. I think one of the biggest problems will, in some ways, I feel like Max, like despite his kind of seeming like his blue fiery nature, might be actually less of a problem than Germany. Germany in his interview struck me as just very, very duplicitous and slippery. I don't know if you guys thought this, but his whole like, I'm so new to this, I have no idea what's going on. Like, oh, who am I choosing? Like, am I in the finals? Like,
Am I the
what's
top
going-
seed?
So it's really hard for anyone to buy that, except to say Dave Roberts is legitimately one of the nicest people to ever play diplomacy. He was a DBNI Invitational, so that means he's one of the top 28 players last year on the tournament scene. He is known to be a very strong alliance player. He's not stabby, but he will act in his own self-interest. But it was a little bit too much aw shucks for me, which is kind of like what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, which is funny coming from you because I feel like you are the wizard of aw shucks, but
He's not quite as good at faking it.
yeah. I mean, to me, yeah, I guess I don't really know his reputation in that sense, but just like seeing him speak and the way in which he tried to kind of sandbag himself, and I don't doubt that he's a strong alliance player. He just strikes me as someone who's a strong alliance player who also is leaking things and talking and like, I don't know, like, but we'll see.
What about, let's try and do a little of these in reverse order. What about Tanj? Right. I will give you my impression, which is on the pro side, he's made it to 2 season finals in a row with the most players in Nexus. On another pro side, he called me Mr. Sullivan in the interview, which, I don't usually get that respect. So I felt like that was appropriate. He recognized the position. But on the con side, last year, he played a very obvious game in which he got stabbed, and he gave away too much information in his interview. I played him and he was very cagey. And I knew that he was an alliance player. And he told me by being cagey, he implied by being cagey that I was not on his alliance. Right. You know, like, so I always kind of knew he was never going to be for me. And I'm wondering if he may give away too much information and be taken advantage of.
I mean, I could see it in two ways. Like, on one hand, you know, I feel like on the surface level, you almost see it, Ewok as like seeing what happened in the last finals and licking his lips greedily and being like, ooh, I'm gonna groom him. Like, yes, like I'll stab him even worse. Like, hey. On the other hand, you can kind of see Tunji and, you know, Turkey has a little bit more of a defensible corner. You know, as you said, there might be some tension with Riaz in the north. I mean, Italy is always the key to unlocking Turkey, but like Russia's support, you kind of need it to do it in a timely fashion. So there's a sense in which by almost leaking that information, he is painting a bit of a target on Russia. Like, because Russia seems like the mastermind, like, oh, I am but Russia's like brainwashed, you know, young boy, like pry me away from him. You know, like he's kind of, I feel like people will be coming to him and be like, you know, have you heard what Ewok's like? He's like, oh, what is he like? You know, so I mean, there might be an element of that, but I really don't know. He does seem like fairly straightforward in some ways too. He's a hard read for me.
I like Tangent. He's an alliance player. He likes to play with people and be, you know, completely loyal. I like that he's got another corner to defend, something a little easier than England if the lines are broken. But yeah, I think that's just great for him. I don't think it's a lose in any way, shape, or form.
Now, Max Fax is an interesting character, Sergey, who I've gotten to know over the years. And what I can say about Max Fax is he's a little going to be this year's Poser Tom in the same country of Italy. I think he's never going to give up. And he is an extremely diligent. I need a hand's vocabulary here. This never say die, always coming up with options kind of player.
Tenacious.
Tenacious. There you go.
Mhm.
A good synonym. And so I really like the position he's in, especially if he can work something out with Philip in France.
When we were in an alliance together, he broke down like a contract with bullet points and everything.
I don't
Very
got it.
thorough. And I was dumb enough to break that contract, and he never, yeah. If he provides a contract, then you know you're the alliance person he wants to work with, I guess.
Oh. God, contracts.
I was like, I skimmed it. I was like, I don't have time to read all this. Okay, that's
I mean, I don't blame you though. Like the person who puts forward the contract is always like putting themselves in the driver's seat. I mean, I wouldn't beat yourself up too much.
I've
mean,
seen
one thing-
dumber lawsuits than suing Stitches over breach of a diplomacy contract.
Stitches has a contracts of sorts, but it's always very implied, implicit. I mean, one thing I will say, I want to give Max a shout out though. I mean, I don't know him like you guys know him. I've never played with him. I do like his kind of barely restrained fire, but I want to give him a shout out because he achieved the first 17-17 split in Nexus history.
Incorrect.
Yeah.
Season 2, game 1, Ed Sullivan and not just Mark did an AT to 17-17.
No, you guys didn't get to the 17-17. I'm pretty sure there was still a center or two left.
I'm gonna have to look.
You're gonna have to look. You guys didn't actually manage to sweep the board. You guys didn't, but
In my mind, I did.
No, but that was the closest anyone's gotten until then. So you have nothing to be ashamed of at all. I mean, the amazing thing about 17-17 is that to achieve that within the 10-year limit takes is a mathematical mind. Like you have to be so precise. And I would like also to give a shout out to, I think, was it Kua the Kiwi who just missed the finals. I loved his games. I loved his style, his tactics, his flair. He left Tunis open till the last till the last year. You know, and him and Pixie, who's my buddy, great player, great ally. I was sad to see him not make it either. Yeah, those were the two people I was a little sad to see kind of sink beneath the waves. But
You
regardless,
weren't sad to see me not make it.
no, I was thrilled. Are you kidding me?
At least I had the
B
courage.
minus,
At least
minus.
I had the courage to play.
That's true. I did drop out, but after what you did to me to make you think you were in my game and rage against your shady lawyer, and
I thought that was
anyway,
a
let's not even go into that whole thing. When I literally embarrassed myself in my game, demanding that Ed Sullivan, the cheater, be like. I mean, I was using it to my own advantage too. I didn't want the board to give me Vienna because he was Ed the cheater, evil lawyer. But regardless,
I wasn't even in the game.
I know, but you allowed me to think that you were. You allowed me. Or was it? But yes, the 17-17. It almost hurts me to congratulate him. I always wanted to be that person, and I've actually had a couple alliances, including in this season, where I felt like I might have been able to achieve it, but then my partner, the people I get close with are always these really controlling kind of mathematical types, and you kind of realize at the end that they really, they're never going to give you like the reins enough to really let it happen. But yeah, it's an amazing achievement, and like I'm really, really impressed with that. And that alone makes me kind of a Max Vax fan.
All right. Well, I think he's more of a mathematical than beauty type, but he did go 17-17.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you tell Kua was the artist in that game. If you looked at it, I mean, I followed that game closely because it was very compelling. Max Vex, he's not going to make that audacious thrust. He's a little bit more calculating and careful, it seems. But they seem like a good partnership, and I'm really impressed. And so, good job.
All right. Well, we got to talk about Ewok dropping down to 4th from his seed. This was after Riaz had announced he wanted to be England. I don't think there's any love lost between the two of those players. It's well known. And but still picks Russia, which can do battle with England, but definitely in my mind did not want to be in a popularity contest with Riaz in the West. No comments. Do you think he'll play in a more aggressive style than the horrible display of tactics and play we saw from one of the world's best online players last year?
Well, if he's not bouncing in the Black Sea or holding Warsaw the entire time, he'll have 2 extra units to do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I will say he said he's going to play so differently, but like, I mean, I've watched him play like quite a bit, and he's like one of the most successful online players ever, and that is his style. Like, I could see him being more aggressive, but I don't really anticipate him completely just letting his play style by the wayside. I do see him still like being someone cautious. I mean, unless, I don't know. I mean, I guess we could see like a massive sea lion or something, but I'm just not.
I don't think he'll be more aggressive. I think he still does pretty well calculated moves. I think he adapted his social game this time to improve his reputation in alliance play, just because it benefited the meta.
He's definitely improved as a social player. I'll give you an example, another shameless plug for the Diplomat site, but Media Wars 2 has just concluded, and Ewok was Russia in that game, and I was Germany, and we did an RG to an 11-11 split board top to end Media Wars 2.
Wow.
He did not really, he sort of locked the line down against the Balkans, built a lot north, and swung around with me against France. And that's how he did it. He can play in aggressive Russia. But he was delightful to play with. He did not do one thing he didn't say he was going to do over 10 seasons. But it's a low stakes game.
Right.
Anyways, I really look forward to seeing how he plays. you cannot
I don't think
underrate
you
a
can play
person who's
less
made 3
aggressively.
finals. Has anyone made more finals?
Yeah, that's a good point, Stitches. It's literally impossible to play less aggressively than he did last time. So by the physics of the game, he will play more aggressively. That is true.
Well, he could NMR.
That won't happen. But yeah.
Dave Roberts, we talked about a little bit, but I played Dave in a season. I think this was really his first extended press game, a tournament. And so he picked up, he obviously did very well, and he's good at forming alliances. And in my mind, the pivot point right now as Germany in the Central Powers, which two of the powers are going to get along is massive. But since we've talked about Dave a little bit and I gave you information, I'll go on to Philip. I loved what you said, Han, that he seemed like a used car salesman, because let me tell you something. I think he is. He's obviously very political. He must have some sort of politics background. I can recognize people like that a mile away. I used to work in Washington, D.C. And so I can see that in him. But it's a little too obvious. And I'll tell you another thing, very Ed Sullivan-like, but Philip, not quite yet at Ed Sullivan level. I've got about 20 years on you. He was talking up the non-recorded portions of the power selection, trying to chat everybody up for like 10 minutes. Stitches, do you remember that?
Yeah, definitely. He was talking to everybody.
So I think your read on him is exactly right. Philip's going to get you in that car on the lot that day. What's the payment that you need? Tell me what the payment is that you need, and I'll get you to that payment, sir.
I think just as much as he engages, if you're just polite enough to respond, you'll eventually start giving up information that you don't want to.
And he does come off as very likable, very approachable. I'd say out of all of them, he seemed at least to have the least of a chip on his shoulder.
Agreed. I think he's really happy to be there.
Yeah. So we'll see how he does. I mean, like you mentioned in the interview, I don't know anything about him, but and actually I don't really recall his games either. I don't know if he had a really flashy thing that caught my eye. Most of these other guys did. They all actually had at least one game that caught my eye, but I don't really recall a Philip game. So
I got to tell you, in general, I don't like Philip with 2 L's. But so he gets a downgrade, his parents do, for that. But I like him. I think he's a nice guy. I think he's got a lot of potential as a diplomacy player. And it's key to see what happens in the West. I think the shock of the game, and first of all, you got to love that he has France, right? Other than Doc last year, obviously the best defensive power in the game. Riaz picking England. Now, I love England. I used to hate it. I love England now.
Me too.
But picking England first, you see it sometimes. It's happened quite a few times in tournaments in the last 6 months. But I thought I was a bit of a shock.
It was a shock to me too. And after talking to quite a few people, they were like, well, that's his favorite country. So he already said he was going to choose it.
I mean, I like playing England. I do. I've had really good success. I love the kind of slowly spreading your spider web out and sending convoys. I will say, it's the real problem with England is the 1910 limit. Like if it was it's the one power that if you had a few more years would really have a higher success rate, just because you have to put your plan into place. I think that's probably why Umble loves England, for instance, because there's so much like evil hand rubbing as you like get your stuff together. Yeah. So, but like, I mean, it's not like a terrible pick, but it is a little bit of a harder road to take.
Now I'm gonna make just let me talk about Riaz a bit for people who don't know him and they saw the interview. One is he is a true gentleman. He's a really, really nice guy from Canada. He is a pure alliance player until he just can't be anymore. And I played with him in 2 games in this season 6 extended press. One game I subbed in as a sort of power getting killed, and I offered to Janissary myself to him and his partner, Eustachio. And the other, I was Russia, he was Austria, and we had an alliance. It didn't work out for either of us, but you know what he's looking for, what he needs is someone he can 100% trust. Because if you know, he couldn't get that from Ewok, he couldn't get that from Tanjian, he couldn't get that from Italy in our game when he was playing Austria. But if he can find that person, that's powerful for him. And I think both Philip and Dave Roberts may make a good match for him because he is that reliable player. I almost think he controls what happens in the West because of how reliable he is.
I mean, even Pez, to be honest, I mean, Pez will actually do everything he says as long as he's in control. You know, Pez, he kind of, like I've said before, but his strategy is more to put the noose of contracts around you and agreements. So, I mean, I could even see like England, Germany, Austria or something. I mean, I think France is really going to be, you know, if as we think, like Russia and Turkey just go for like a traditional quick jug and just get to a kind of line early in the game and then need someone to kind of come on board for their own benefit to break the stalemate that ensues. I mean, you know, France and Russia always have the kind of geopolitical passive alliance temptation there. I mean, so I guess that could go either way. I mean, again, you know these players better. I mean, you think it seems like you're pretty sure that Dave and Riaz will be a good fit together.
Well, I don't know, because I don't know if either of those players has played with Philip, right? Because if you've played with somebody and you have a working, you know, knowledge with somebody, that can tip the hand. And I don't know if Riaz has really worked with Dave. I'm just saying on personality types.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I understood that. I mean, France very often just geopolitically ends up just kind of like slippery and non-committal. We'll see how things go. I mean, the truth is, I mean, at least the fear of that juggernaut is going to keep Germany alive a little longer, and perhaps Austria as well. And France, there's always France. You always suspect that France is talking to Russia. You know, you always have that inkling, like they can't work directly together. But at least for me, I always have in the back of my mind, like, are France and Russia working together, just kind of ping ponging people between each other.
I think it's interesting. All the veterans are in the East, and all the new finalists are in the West.
New finalists, but 2 of the 3 in the DBNI, and then 2 of the 4 in the East in the DBNI. So these are experienced players.
I'm not saying they're inexperienced. I'm just saying, you know,
they've never been in a
new.
Nexus finals before, which
I mean,
is unique.
Yeah, they are unique. I mean, all of my experiences in Nexus, so I can't really speak to that, but I've definitely, in my own encountering players with a lot of success in other media, they're often like pretty overconfident that they will have a mastery of this particular format.
Now I'm going to throw some things out at you. Given what we've talked about in terms of our knowledge of the players, do either of the 2 of you foresee a Western triple? And would it be a good idea?
I have no idea. I think that happens to be under Pez's influence more than likely, to see what he can find out and if he can form it and I don't know all the personalities in the West. So it's the blank edge for me. So, um, yeah, I don't know. It's just it really depends on how the personalities mesh and how much of a threat the Juggernaut is. If they
I think
can-
if 3 players could do it, these are the 3. But I don't know if it'll happen just because of, Dave might be very skeptical about it.
right.
Yeah, I mean the Western triple is always one of those things that is rarely actually exists in practice. I think most games that there's been a Western triple, it was me spreading the rumor of a Western triple that never happened. Or I think Stitches, you were in an ill-fated Western triple with Pez, right?
I didn't want to be. He just kept on saying Western triple, and I kind of got drug along.
Yeah, God, just never get in a three. Like just with Pez, if you get in a three-way chat with Pez, immediately contact the other person in the three-way chat and be like, this guy always has three-way chats. He will dominate us. Let's talk and like manipulate him just from the beginning. Just don't, because it's like you have to be humble in this game. Like he's the master of the three-way. Don't let it happen. Like don't go down that path with him. You just don't do it. Like immediately break that up as much as you can. That's what I've learned anyway. But yeah, I could see it maybe under Pez's influence. I mean, it's just so you just want it to happen, but that Western Triangle, there's something's gonna go wrong.
Given the expectations that we've put in the East and talked about the meta that's been burst alive, does Pez allow Max Vax to put Army Venice in Vienna in spring 1901?
Vienna?
Triage.
Trieste.
Vienna,
Well,
maybe
right.
in fall 1901, the classic move to like, Galicia or something. But I don't think so. Honestly, just Pez, he doesn't like being on the receiving end of experimentation. Like he'll talk Pez would 100% like to be Italy and put the army in Trieste, but he doesn't have much stomach for taking risk for himself, at least in my experience. I mean, maybe you guys have a different view
No,
of him.
well, I mean, I didn't know he played Turkey, so there wasn't much to do, but it's
Yeah.
a really hard call. If you're in Austria who thinks there might be a 3-way against you, how to defend that.
I would do a hedgehog if I were him.
Southern Hedgehog.
Yeah, I would
And
do
give up on Greece in 01?
Yeah, I mean,
Gonna hold it anyways.
I mean, you almost want like it's like the people are you those jug alarms. I would be ringing them from the beginning, and I would actually let them like become a bit of a problem. Even
I mean, if Italy's gonna put itself in a three-way to divide you, the best thing you can do is throw Turkey into Greece. It'll start pressuring Italy.
yeah,
You don't want Greece.
So
Not in that situation. You need to protect what you have.
let's say Pez goes out in 02. Let's just say. Do you think it's more likely to continue the RT, or would you think a wintergreen? That both Max Vax and Ewoks are capable, obviously, of doing that.
I think he'll do neither. I think he'll try to make them fight as long as he can before he has to pick somebody and grow in the north.
I mean that's the such that I mean. I feel slightly aroused when you even bring up that question for like if you're Russia and you're to the point where you've partitioned Austria-Hungary and now you're like, who do I love more, Italy or Turkey? No, that's just the best. Yeah, like he'll cross that bridge when he comes to it. I mean, I will say just like Tenjian seems like the more pliable player, but that could be a bit of an act. Maybe he's learned something. Tenjian's win in the second round was a pretty aggressive win by Russia, actually. If you guys I don't know if you guys have looked at it, but pretty much a kind of smash and grab kind of Russian expansionism win. So there might be sides to him that we're not perceiving.
Now, the next question is, given the well-known rivalry / problems Riaz and Ewok have, will Russia open north and slow down the juggernaut because he's
So,
worried about losing St. Petersburg?
oh my God, is he really gonna do the same mistake he did with Conk, where they're just gonna like have like a little fucking dick swinging contest all game and just ruin each other's time? Maybe.
I'm afraid it could happen. The real secret would be if they could work together.
I know, but that's what I kept thinking last time. And it bounced for like what, 6 or 7 years.
Three, yeah.
It was like 2
years, I think
people who
the
were
cruise
playing
is
rock,
over.
paper, scissors, and they always go for brick.
Yeah.
Both players.
And it's funny, Ewok, for such a likable guy, he does always seem to like go into these finals with some like implacable grudge with someone. But I don't know, Riaz. I mean, I will say it, Riaz, like I don't know him at all, but he does seem like a bit like touchy or argumentative in the sense that like in that one win, he had a win by Italy that, other than that win by Kua, was probably the best Italy win. He was in all my fetish tiles. He had fleets in Black Sea and Mid Atlantic, and I went to his channel to to congratulate him, and like the arguing text was flying so fast. And I was like, "Congrats, great win! I liked watching you, Riaz." And he was like, "Oh, thanks." And then it just flew out of the screen as he just like continued to like bicker with people. I was like, "Oh man."
Riaz and I are notorious when we play a lot of speedboat on Nexus.
Yeah.
And we have wars in our AARs. He usually, if not always, plays better than I do, but a lot of times when I'm in the same game, I guess I see the board differently in Gunboat, and I just don't play to his logical way. And he is not shy about talking about how I messed up. But what I put in his press, what I would say about him is, Ewok is a classic 60-40 negotiator in diplomacy, which is why a lot of times it's very difficult to work with him. And I think he's tried to change that a little bit. Riaz is a little more subtle. He's a 55-45 negotiator. And in my mind, when you try and make it 50-50, he will argue very passionately why that extra 5% is really in your interest. And sometimes he wears you down. But I am curious to see if Russia will open north, because I don't think that's the best move in a juggernaut, obviously.
Opening north is more often than not a bad idea. I've learned. It's funny because it's one of those openings where like it's sexy, and I love, like, when I first started playing, I would always open north as Russia because it seems so cool. Like, oh yeah, fleets in the North Sea, like, yes, inevitably you get that game where you would get like over enthusiastic and convoy your little Russian army over into England, and you feel like you're on top of the world, and then everything comes crashing down around you. You kind of opening. I mean,
you open north, the juggernaut can last longer, I think.
No. But here's the thing: if you have Italy on your side, and you think you do, then you can slide Warsaw into Ukraine. You go Moscow up, and you haven't.
I wouldn't let Pez live, man. Pez needs to die right away. Pez is one of those players you just don't want them getting even to the mid game. I mean, honestly, in the first round, I was so annoyed at the kind of like calculator crunching, kind of like mod quasi cheating, like that. In my game where I beat Pez, my first objective after he tried to sea line me is I just wanted to eliminate him, to not let him make it to the second round, which I would have done, except that he was a sub, because as the head mod, he's like #1 sub. He would have been out, but that's just another story. I'm a Pez fan now, actually, because we have so much history. I would love to see him win. But yeah, like Pez, you don't let him, precisely because what you guys said, his mastery of the group he will bring like 3, 4, 5 even. In the game I had with him, I discovered that there was a chat with everyone but me in it. And luckily I had a mole in there, but if I hadn't, it would have been a problem. Like,
that sounds like a perfect chat. Maybe we can do it here. But here's the other thing. Think about this from a meta perspective. I know it may not mean much to you guys, but you know, there is that Nexus all around title that's going to be awarded. And Riaz, if Pez gets eliminated earlier, Riaz has a great shot of winning it. So if Ewok wants to focus on Pez, they may make some sort of temporary peace in order for that to happen.
Maybe. I think like the only person who cares about all around title is Pez. Or maybe Riaz does. I don't even really understand what it is. It's just like all the different tournaments kind of aggregated or whatever.
Yeah, they include Cold War, which I think is a mistake. But all right, we're coming to the part that our fans love, the absolute thing that everyone demands in the comments, which is grading. The grading of the power selection. Pez's grade. He didn't get to pick, but
You get the pick.
he ended up with Austria.
I'm giving him an A. I mean, honestly, like I'll give him an A, not because he had a choice, but just because I'm actually really interested to see what Pez does with Austria. I really am. I mean, I feel like it could go disastrously for him. You know, he is a notorious, as it's kind of funny to see him the shoe on the other foot, because he's notorious as Italy for always attacking Austria every time. He also lives close to the Austrian border, and I think he is I sometimes suspect him of being a bit of a kind of follower of D'Annunzio and like just wanting to take Trieste back for his, you know, little like IMM Italian nationalist cause or whatever it is. But I think it'll be really interesting, you know, with his kind of group skills, but his lack of kind of like bilateral charm. It'll be interesting to see what he does. I'm really curious to see how he handles this. And he is very well, this kind of predetermined, or let's not, this likely juggernaut is like the perfect foil for him, because he's a hardcore targeter. Like he targeted me so hard every time I play with them, and he knows how to target. And he, you know, Ewok will definitely be targeted on this board. I think he's. If I was looking at this, he would seem like the biggest threat to me. And then the Ewok plus a known kind of Janissary, but maybe a tricky Janissary in Tenjian.
All right, enough. This is one grade.
Yeah.
Stitches.
An F.
Yeah. Had two choices. It's an A. I think he got the better position. And he got a good ally, so.
I give him an A as well. I think you can do a lot with Austria, and I think Pez can do a lot with Austria. And I'd rather be Austria in 7th than Italy or Turkey, personally. So I'm happy for that. Tanj. Hand, what do you give Tanj?
I mean, I could like zig where everyone expects me to zag and give him a good grade, but I'm not going to do that. I think it was just like boring and predictable for him to pick Turkey. I think that honestly, if you were truly committed to an alliance with, even if you were truly committed to an alliance with Russia, an astronaut is an alliance that's incredibly hard to pull off. It's something I tried really hard to do in the season 3 finals, and like I don't want to cry, so we're not going to discuss that. But because you're like such an existential threat to each other, but Austria is positioned a place where you can throw your armies forward so effectively, and if you bring Italy in, you can actually like neutralize Turkey pretty hard. And it would have been, you know, he played England last time. He kind of almost has a corner power personality. Like I would have liked to see him branch off and like try to, you know, be like a central power bully or do an astronaut or something a little more interesting than just like a pre-planned jug that will inevitably kind of end up spinning its wheels for years while they try to get France or someone to break the.
And the grade is a what?
C-.
Stitches.
A. I think between the two choices, having a friendly Russia, it's just the smart way to go.
All right, Tanj, I like you personally. You seem like somebody I could have a beer with, but the grade is an F. It's an F because Austria, in my mind, is a much better country to play than Turkey. Turkey limits your options, and you're counting on too much as Turkey. Austria is a better pick, but I do think it is a clue that there may not be an alliance with Max Vax, because an air would be much better to pull off than this
Sure.
other thing.
That's a good
So I'm
yeah.
not convinced that Max Vax is in on this deal.
Mhm.
All right, Max Vax picking Italy 5th. Hand.
I'd say it's the best. It's the best pick available. So, I mean, it's like it feels weird to give A's and F's. Like I'm actually not. I'll give him like a B plus, just because it's like, I mean, it's the obvious choice. Like, there's no great surprise there, but Italy is such a pleasure to play. You can build fleets in all your centers. You're in the middle of everything. You can go west or east, or if you're me, even north. I mean, like,
You're not a real direct target for anybody.
yeah, and it's good. It's good. And even with the kind of possible threat of a jug, you can't. No one can unlock Turkey without you, so you're needed. France might think twice about kind of coming and fucking your shit up. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a good pick. It was the best pick available.
Stitches.
Same, yeah.
Give him an A minus. The reason for that is I think in a normal run of things, I would have still picked Austria over Italy personally. But Italy is as Peter McNamara says, is a country when there are sharks that allows you to develop later and be decisive. But I like it because what I think it did was put Tangian and Pez in an awkward situation, because he didn't know it, but Tanj probably would have picked Turkey in that situation if he had picked Austria, no matter what. And giving Pez Italy, I don't think would have been the best play for someone you want to eliminate right away. So for that reason, I like it. I give it an A minus. Ewok picking, dropping down,
Dropping
getting out of
down.
the West to pick Russia. Hand.
He really loves Russia.
He says Russia's his best country, so
I like playing Russia too, though I play it in a completely different way from what I've seen him
it's
do.
my favorite country as well.
Yeah, I do like playing Russia a lot.
That's why I attack Russia. I want to be like, give me
But
your
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems kind of. I mean, I find it a bit odd that he keeps going for it over and over and over again. I kind of would have liked. I would have been with his style. I kind of would have been interested to see him play Italy for some reason. I think I would really enjoy watching Ewok play Italy in the finals.
I mean, just for growth potential, you want to be in the West or Russia. It's just
Yeah.
it's a limited game with such great players. It's really hard for the East to come out other than Russia. And it's like Ed was saying, Austria is probably the next one after that. So probably the best growth potential that way.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I just give it like a B minus or something. It's like honestly, it's a fine pick. It's good. Like, and he actually has set up the board. If things are as we suspect, and he's grooming Turkey, he thinks Max and Pez might be at each other's throats a little bit, and has a somewhat antagonistic relationship with Riaz. And actually, when you have a bit of an antagonistic relationship, you don't actually always want to be on the opposite end of the board, because you want to be able to limit them a little more. I mean, in that sense, it would be an A. Just for me, I would like to see him play a different power just for my own entertainment value. But it might be interesting. Maybe it will be a completely different game with Russia. So
Stitches, I don't know if you gave him a B minus or an A. I'll call that.
I like all these. I think everyone's picking exactly what they need to. So I think I'm A's all the way through. All right.
I give Ewok an A plus. The reason is he needed to be away from Riaz. He has it set up any which way he wants. He's in a bit of a trap, but I'd rather be Ewok than any other player in the East right now. And so I give him an A plus. Now, Dave Roberts had the #1 pick. He dropped to 3rd and he picked Germany. Hand, your thoughts?
I don't know. This one I'm not so sure what to think. I'm really not. I just
I
don't.
think
Yeah, go on. I'll think while you talk.
I think he played very well. He didn't seem to discriminate against any country, but he did know that he wanted to be in the West. So if he picked 3rd, he would be able to play any of those 3 countries just fine. And so he's going for the tiebreaker. It's not so much a country selection choice for him as much as it was a tiebreaker position for him. So he would have been happy with either England, France, or Germany. And I think Germany is a really good pick. It's usually picked too.
Yeah, it is good, and I do think Germany. Just looking at the dynamics here, they're going to be needed. Germany and Italy are going to be very needed by other players. And there's going to be a disincentive to carve up Germany early because of that threat from the East. So he has a lot of strong possibilities. Yeah, it's a good pick. A minus, I guess, or something. B plus, something like that.
I give him a D.
Ooh.
Here's why.
For Dave?
For Dave Roberts. I give him a D. He's a high school educator. And I'll give him my reasons. 1, the tiebreakers only come into effect 1 time in 5 seasons. 2, if France is on the board and you can pick one and you are not an existential threat to the rest of the board, then Dave Roberts is such a nice person that I don't think people are going to be like, we got to kill Dave. We got to kill Dave. France should have been the country he picks. He picks in the West. He's a nice guy. It gives a lot of power. He's picked France before in Paris method. I'm very shocked he dropped to 3. I would have picked France #1, but I think I love Germany. I play good Germany, and it's all personal bias. So I'm sure Dave plays a good Germany, but I think, like Doug Moore says, don't overthink it. If you're picking #1 in Paris selection, pick France.
Well, counterpoint, I think that France does, like Turkey, has a bit of a target on spec. I mean, has France ever won a Nexus finals?
Pez.
Oh, did Pez? Right. As a tiebreaker. Yeah. Interesting. I didn't
Okay,
realize.
Philip, hand.
Great. I mean, he gets an A for sure. He's almost, I mean, I don't,
He was handed
all I know is the interviews, and so like Dave's like niceness didn't come through to me quite as much. I think France, for Philip's personality as I perceive it, perfect power, would take a pretty coordinated effort that would actually need Italy to take him out early. And I think that because of Italy's possible animosity towards Austria, B, the threat of a juggernaut, will be preoccupied. I don't think that there's a chance for an early exit for France this game. France will also be needed probably in order to buttress kind of the Mediterranean situation at some point, or even to take, England out if him and Ewok hit it off. So great pick, probably the best pick on the board, especially to get at #2.
Yeah, it's a free pick. I mean, you got France. It's by far the best power. And the way the East looks, there will be no alliance in the West without France. I don't see an EG at all. It's just it's not a good plan. So it's
Okay,
either
well, I
Western
think there might be
Triple-
an EG, but I give him an A plus. It was the best country on the board, and very happy that he got France. And with his personality and working angles, which I think the used car salesman's going to do, it's going to be difficult to take him out like they took out Doc last year as France. So I think Philip's going to be in this. I think France is going to be in it, and I don't discount a Western Triple. Finally, Riaz, #1. wasn't in the number one position, got it, and picked England. Although I think he said United Kingdom, but it's England in this game. And
It's just not. It's actually Great Britain in the game. What are you talking about?
whatever.
We're Americans. Who cares? You know what? I'm actually gonna. Okay, so if I was speaking on a purely objective way, like maybe picking England isn't the best, and because of the 1910 limit, how I discussed, it's hard to get your web together in order to win the game. But I'm gonna give him an A just for following his heart. I love that his reasons just. I like it. I like playing this country. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna roll with it. I like that confidence, that kind of, and it starts the game with like an "I'm playing for fun" message, and the "I'm playing for fun" message is actually great for attracting allies because you don't seem greedy, because you seem fun. Yeah, I like it. So I'll give him an A. I mean, it's gonna be tough. It's tough to win as England, but I mean, it's tough to win as England with a strong board like this. But I like it. I like his reasons. I like that he just went for the top pick. So yeah, why not?
Stitches.
I appreciate that he likes the country, but it's such a slow game. You're, he won't be eliminated most likely if he's a decent England, but it's still, even if you're in a defensive position, to reestablish yourself in that short amount of time. As much as you like a country, you kind of have to play the game, and France and Germany are just way superior in getting a higher score.
England doesn't have to be a slow game, but yeah, it generally is.
I give him an A minus. The thinking is I think he should have taken France, but I agree he got a great country. And I think what I've learned in these extended press games playing England is it's difficult to take England out in an online tournament because of all the arguments you can throw at France and Germany about how unreliable a sea lion can be. I don't know if that's what's going to happen here. It may not work out for him if Ewok goes north and there is an FG, but I like the pick from Riaz, and so I wish him the best of luck. Okay, so the last thing before we have to go, the longest pregame podcast in history. None of us picked Kudasov last year to win. None.
Damn it.
Well, that was
Who will win the season 6 Nexus main event?
Pez. That's my man for this game. He's my nemesis. I tried to murder him. He only squeaked into the second round by you always ask me for words. What's the word for cheating that's not cheating? Whatever it is, whatever getting because you're the mod, you get a sub in and get to round 2 means. But regardless of all that, we have so much history. We have had so much beautiful discourse between us, and I hope that he achieves the unity of Parmenides that he tried to push on me in this game, and becomes the second repeat champion. Though on the other hand, I mean, I'm such a Powa fan that I hate to say that. Like, I almost don't want Powa to be equaled, but yeah, I'm going for Pez. And he's also a pure Nexus player. You know, us like Nexus bros need to stick together.
Turn down DBNI. He knows what he likes and he knows what he's good at.
Yeah.
Superstition.
I'm gonna go dark horse with Philip. I think that there's gonna be a lot of drama in the East, and I really don't think there's an alliance without France in the West with that dynamic. And I think no matter where he is, he's gonna have a shotgun to someone's back, and he's gonna gobble up center. So if he doesn't win, he'll probably be second, I think.
Well, I was going to say Philip because I labeled him the people's choice. He's the conch of this season for me. I'm rooting for him because I view him the player most like me. And as they say, you tend to find the most intelligent people are the ones that are like you. But I will go with Tanjian. If he has worked it out as Turkey and can get to 6, I love the position. I love it, especially if Russia's preoccupied north. I think he's got massive expansion opportunities if he plays it the right way. But all of these players are in it. You have just fantastic players. I think, no disrespect, I keep saying my season I thought was the best. And I know other people disagree with that, but this season I think is the best list of competitors we've ever had, despite the fact that it doesn't have Superstition, Hand, or Humble, or even myself in it. I'm really looking forward to watching these 7 play. All right. Thank you, Dopeheads, for playing. And we will see our, this will be released after spring 1901, and we wish best of luck to the competitors. And thank you to diplomacybriefing.com for sponsoring us. Good night, guys.
Good night.